Section 1 in Chapter 4 is titled the Distributive Property. Vocabulary term, equivalent expressions. These are expressions that have the same value, and we'll talk about what some of those are in just a minute. But first I want to teach you about the distributive property. The distributive property states that to multiply a sum or difference by a number, we multiply each term inside the parentheses by the number outside the parentheses. So first we have A times the quantity of B plus C. So the distributive property says we need to take A times B plus A times C. Similar with subtraction. If we have A times the quantity of B minus C, then we're going to take A times B minus A times C. So for our examples, we have 5 times 6 plus 7. So we can do 5 times 6 plus 5 times 7. That would give us 30 plus 35, or 65. Similarly, subtraction and with the number on the right side of the parentheses, 9 minus 3 times 8 is 9 times 8 minus 3 times 8. So that's 72 minus 24. 52 minus 4, that's 48. So let's look at some examples. Let's use the distributive property to write each expression as an equivalent expression. Then we want to evaluate the expression. So when it first says we have to write each expression as an equivalent expression, that's taking 5 times 12 plus 5 times 4. This is writing it as an equivalent expression. Now we multiply. 5 times 12 is 60, plus 20, and that gives us 80. In example 2, we have 20 minus 3 times 8. So we're going to do 20 times 8 minus 3 times 8. 20 times 8 is 160. 3 times 8 is 24. So it's 160 minus 24 is 136. Try these two examples on your own. So pause the video here and see if you can write the equivalent expression and then evaluate. So on number 3, we should write 6 times 4 plus 3 times 4. That'll give us 24 plus 12, which is 36. Now number 4, we have 4 times 9 minus 4 times 2. That's 36 minus 8, or 28. The distributive property can also help us with mental math. So, we can find some products mentally. For example, you may not know what 7 times 34 is right away off the top of your head, but you could evaluate 7 times 30 plus 4. So we can split up the 34 into 30 plus 4. This will give us 7 times 30 plus 7 times 4. And most of you could know these problems on your own. 7 times 30 is 210, 7 times 3 is 21, and 7 times 4 is 28. So when we add those, we get 238. So let's look at an example. Let's say on a school visit to Washington, D.C., David and his classmates visit the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. Tickets to the IMAX movie cost $8.99. So find the cost for 20 students to see the IMAX movie. So that means we want to take 20 times $8.99. Well, we can do 20 times 8, and we get that to be $160. But a lot of us don't know what 20 times 99 is. So we need to add to that 20 times. How can we split up 99? 90 plus 9. And that should be a 20 out in front. So 20 times 90 plus 20 times 9. 20 times 90 plus 20 times 9. So we have the 160, which is 20 times $8, plus 20 times 90. Remember, it's 90 cents and 9 cents. So 20 times 90 is 1,800, but we've got 2 decimal places, so that's going to be another $18. And remember that this is 0.09 cents. So let's do 20 times 9 first, which is 180, but it's actually only going to add $1.80. So now we have $160 plus $18 plus $1.80. So 160 plus 18 is 178, plus $1.80 is going to be $179.80. And that's without using a calculator or doing long multiplication this way, where you take 899 times 20, or some of you using the lattice method. We can also use the distributive property to write expressions as equivalent algebraic expressions. So it's very similar. You're still going to take the number on the outside and multiply it by both numbers inside. If it's addition, then we're going to add the two terms together. If it's subtraction, then we're going to subtract the two terms. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 5 is 20. So we get 4x plus 20. We can't simplify that any further because we can't add the x term to 20. So how about number 7? 6 times y, 6 times 10. 6y plus 60. Try these two on your own. 3 times m minus 3 times 4. That's 3m minus 12. This example is -9 times n minus 7. Here we need to be a little careful because we have to remember that the 9 is negative. So -9 times n would be a -9n. But now we have a -9 times this 7 that's subtraction. So that's going to be a -63. Notice what happens to the sign. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So this becomes -9n plus 63. Please notice that you need to write it like this, not minus a negative. So whenever you have a negative times a number that's right behind a subtraction sign, we're going to change it to addition, because it's really like thinking about the 7 as being negative. In class, we'll work on worksheet 4.1.